the Hidden Killers Podcast.
Hey, it's Tony Bruschi. All this weekend, we are taking a look back at some of the most compelling testimony from the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. Enjoy.
Murder in the morning from the Hidden Killers Podcast.
So, someone dies in your life. Everybody deals with grief in different ways. Some people talk about it. Some people write about it. Some people seek some counseling. A lot of different ways. Everybody reacts differently, and that's important to understand. And remember, like this woman did. She's a mom. Her husband passed away. She wrote a book hoping to help other people, other kids, deal with the grief of losing a parent. The only problem is she's the one who killed the father, her husband.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And they finally kind of figured it out. In an unsettling turn in life's irony, 33-year-old woman Kouri Richins, known for penning a poignant book about grappling with grief, found herself shackled by the cold metal of handcuffs. Her crime, as alleged by the Summit County Sheriff's Office, was the monstrous act of murdering her own husband. And it's not the first time either. Eric Richins, through a lethal dose of the illicit drug fentanyl, this tragic story, it's not just another crime story. It's a disturbing paradox of a woman who wrote about overcoming loss while allegedly orchestrating her husband's crime. Is it difficult to get your hands on fentanyl?
No, not these days,
No.
it sounds like. The other thing that I want to point out about this, maybe she was gearing up to be a podcast guest, or she wanted to be on a bunch of shows and say, look, I've had grief in my life. I know what I'm speaking of. I'm an expert,
Yeah, I mean, and in some ways, truly is. I mean, like we talk about in some of the cases, one of the theories on Kohberger and the allegations against him is he was really into criminology. Did he do this just to experience what it was like? And at what point did he want that experience to stop? Did he think he'd get away with this so he could be the ultimate investigator someday, having been a person who committed a crime like this? Or did he want to go on the full ride that he's on right now, where you're going to go to court, you're going to be tried, and you're going to go through every single experience that a murderer would go through? I don't know. Some people seem to be drawn to do those sort of things. The story in this one begins in the early morning hours of March 4th, 2022. The deathly silence of Richins' residence at Willow Court was pierced by the frantic voice of Kouri, reporting her husband's unresponsive body. The emergency services, a symphony of flashing lights and hurried footsteps, found Eric lifeless at the foot of their metal bed. Despite valiant efforts to retrieve him, Eric was pronounced dead, leaving behind a cloud of mystery and suspicion. This, keep in mind, it's a healthy young man. He's not that old. It's not something where like this would be, oh, this is totally normal. Under the microscope of investigators, Kouri began painting the portrait of the night before. She spoke of a quaint celebration around 9 p.m., a toast to her recent business success with a Moscow mule in bed. A night terror from one of their children, she said, had drawn her away, leading her to spend the night in the child's room. Returning to her own room around 3 a.m., she found Eric disturbingly cold to the touch. Kouri's claim of leaving her phone behind in the bedroom, however, began to crumble under the digital scrutiny because, you can check anything on someone's phone. It's like, if you're going to lie about something, phones are not the thing to lie about. The phone data showed it had been active several times during that night, contradicting her statement. Moreover, a trail of text messages, hastily deleted, added a layer of incrimination. It'll be interesting to see if they can recover those.
They always can, can't they?
Not always. I mean, once something is deleted, it may be in your cloud. It may not. It may be in the resident memory. It may not. They
had access to that stuff in all these cases, especially like the Daybells, where they're reading text messages. Do you mean that they left these on their phone?
Oh,
that
those
these were deleted and retrieved?
No, those were all there. Those were on their phones. That was not a retrieving of anything. It was like
my God, they're not very good at this.
No, I mean, well, they all thought everything was fine, and this is how life works. But when you hastily delete something, luckily, I mean, they got to the phone pretty quick, so it's likely they'll be able to get those. A grim revelation awaited in the autopsy room. Eric's body held a little bit of a secret, a lethal dosage of fentanyl, 5 times the fatal amount. Not just any fentanyl, though, but illicit fentanyl, the deadly signature far removed from its medical grade variant. Discoveries led detectives to execute a search warrant at the Richens residence, resulting in the seizure of Corey's phone. The phone held within it the Pandora's boxes of communication between Corey and an individual identified as CL, a figure with a criminal past. Dabbling in drug-related offenses, conversation suggested that Corey had been actively seeking to obtain drugs from CL, initially under the guise of an investor suffering from a back injury.
Oh.
What's going to sound really official? Oh, I know. I'm an investor. Tell him you're an investor. That'll
work.
That'll impress the drug dealer. Like, what are we
do they actually do like a background check when you're buying illegal drugs? Like, well, what does this person do for a living?
Why do you even have a story? Just like, yeah, I want some of those drugs.
Buy drugs and go away.
I will pay for them. I don't need to tell you my story. But early in 2022, Corey's request took a sinister turn. She sought stronger drugs, specifically requesting fentanyl, infamously known as the Michael Jackson stuff. And she even requested it as the Michael Jackson stuff to her dealer.
Wait a minute. No. Michael Jackson died of propofol. He didn't die of fentanyl, so she's not even right about this.
She's not even right. No, she's not right. But she referred to it as the Michael Jackson stuff.
Okay.
When she got 15 to 30 pills for about $900. Then Valentine's Day dinner unfolded at their home. Eric became severely ill and in a heart-wrenching confession to a friend expressed his growing suspicion that Corey was poisoning him.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but if you're telling your friends that your spouse might be trying to do some nefarious things to you, you've got a problem on your hands.
It's time to leave that spouse. But I get it. But if you have kids and they're there in that care and you can't prove anything, guess who's going to be in charge of the kids or have shared custody of those children? And that's where it's, you're between a rock and a hard place of what do you do? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be looking out for the kids. Even if you suspect your wife is poisoning you, the best thing to do there is just don't consume anything that she's giving you and try to work towards that divorce. Unfazed by Eric's ill health, Corey purportedly reached out to CL for more fentanyl 2 weeks later.
Because it didn't work the first time.
It didn't work the first time. So when you, don't first succeed.
Give me the good shit this time, would you?
Dust yourself off and try again. A year after Eric's demise, Corey emerged from the shadows of suspicion with a children's book titled, Are You With Me? The tale of a fatherless child finding comfort in the spiritual presence of their departed parent felt like a macabre reflection of her own life.
Oh.
So she even went to Facebook to post tributes to her husband because, of course, that's what you do when she doesn't want to be caught.
Good God.
She said, life is just so damn hard without you here. The cards I have been dealt seem like a game that just can't be played. Hashtag please come home, Eric Richens. Well, she did pull it off for a year, so I got to say, that's impressive.
Don't you just want to, reach through the bars and slap her?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is something I'm very curious now to see what kind of defense is going to be mounted for her, if she's going to admit to doing these sort of things. I'm guessing that phone was such a treasure trove that it's probably very, very obvious what happened here, which it seems to be.
It kind of feels like O.J. Simpson in the, in the way of, didn't he write that book that said, if I did it?
If I did it. Yes.
Yeah. This is kind of an O.J. situation. She wrote the exact scenario,
But for children.
And now these poor kids don't have a dad.
But it was for children. So I guess she has some firsthand experience of doing that. Can you buy that book, If I Did It?
Yeah, let's see if
OJ.
that's on Amazon.
Because I knew like it wasn't in print, like they never printed it. Like somebody bought it and then they never did it. But I don't know if it ever got published.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. If I did it. Oh, yes, you can.
Hey,
1788 paperback, excuse me.
Confessions. If I did it, Confessions of the Killer.
Ooh, there's an audiobook. I wonder who's voicing that.
By the Goldman family released it, I guess.
Let's see. Narrator is Kim Goldman. What? No.
I think they did it because they found a way that they could make profit from it. That's why it was stopped, because he couldn't profit from the book itself. But later on, I barely remember this where it kind of came out. The Goldmans decided, okay, yeah, we'll put it out there because this is nuts. But we're going to profit from it. We're going to be the ones that get the money because I think that he owed so much from the civil case and not much has ever been paid of it.
Oh, and by the way, you can't find Corey's book anywhere. I just tried to look it up, at least on Amazon. The Are You With Me book, it's not there.
No, you can't buy Corey's book. Darn, I was going to get it to do some bedtime stories.
Oh, Tony.
Let's read. I'd be very curious, though, to read the context of the book and see if there's any weird phrasing or anything in there that raises some eyebrows now that we know the full context.
Right.
To the allegations and the story. Hey, if you want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about here on the program, you can do so. 888-5KILLER, 888-554-5537. We'd love to have you weigh in, and we may use you on a future episode of the program. For Stacy, Tony, thanks for listening.